VinFast is donating up to 3 acres of private land on Christian Chapel Church Road on the VinFast site in Moncure for the specific purpose of relocating the church to a new permanent home. Now sports, Joe Bird.
The MLB trade deadline is coming up on August 1st, and the trade market is beginning to heat up. Red Sox utility man Kike Hernandez was traded back to the LA Dodgers. Tonight at 9 p.m., the FIFA Women's World Cup continues with Team USA taking on the Netherlands. And tomorrow, the PGA Tour tees off from TPC Twin Cities for the 3M Open.
WSIC weather clear, sunny today, high 94, mainly clear tonight with a low of 72. More sun tomorrow, the high 94. Sunny Friday, the high 96. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
and countless other representatives across the country. As we kick off today at the ALEC annual meeting in Orlando, I'm filled with hope for our nation's future. Together, as we continue to collaborate, learn, and innovate, we can create policies that uplift all Americans and uphold the principles that have made this country great. So, my friends, today's conversation is something to stay tuned for. More exciting discussions here on All Things Saine. We'll be exploring the latest policy developments, interviewing thought leaders, and discussing ways to make our nation an even better place for generations to come. I'm also going to be joined by many of my colleagues here at ALEC. Thank you for joining me today, and we are going to build a brighter future for America and for North Carolina. Again, just excited to be at ALEC. Wanted to get that out of the way, give you an idea of what ALEC's about. You can search the internet and find other ideas that the left thinks ALEC's about, but the reality is we're going to bring it to you live. You can talk. You'll hear legislators talking to you about their experience at previous ALECs, what they expect to accomplish here in Orlando, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. With North Carolina, we're one of the largest delegations and have been for many years. We bring a lot of state members who are part of ALEC, who enjoy ALEC, who love to talk about the policy. If you hear a lot of noise, we haven't seen each other in a couple of months, catching up, meeting in the hallways here and getting ready for that kickoff lunch with Governor DeSantis. As for North Carolina, as you all know, we're still kind of in the budget impasse, if you will. We're working hard to get that resolved. There's a lot of back and forth between the budget writers in the House and the budget writers in the Senate. We're working hard on that, and quite frankly, expect to get to a resolve in the next couple of weeks. And so that looks very positive for our state. Of course, our state's going to be in the news a lot. I told you that Governor DeSantis visited last week, kind of a under the radar run over into our state. He was doing some things in South Carolina and made a stop in the Charlotte area. My son and I had the opportunity to sit down with him and have a lot of fun with him. Spent about 7-8 minutes. His time was very limited, but I really got to have a good conversation, quick conversation, but a good conversation. My son, Jackson, who's 15, thought it was pretty cool to get to sit down with the guy that's being protected by Secret Service because he's an announced candidate and have a sit down and just have a conversation. We're looking forward to this conference and from hearing from him. That will be broadcast on the ALEC website, alec.org. I think they broadcast that through multiple social media outlets as well. So you'll be able to pick that up. Just look, alec.org is the website. You can learn more about what we do. Sometimes there's criticism of ALEC and saying it's not transparent, but I don't know how much more transparent you can be when you post your policies up on your website for the whole world to read. It's just simply not doesn't fit the narrative that the left wants. What the left's really irritated about is the fact that we're effective. We're able to get policy crafted, and quite frankly, a lot of the policy that I've worked on over the years has become ALEC model legislation. So it's things like 5G networks, where North Carolina was one of the first to bring in 5G networks into our state, and so that you and I, with our cell phones and our devices, can have faster internet speeds. And it's spreading across the state as those towers go online and as old equipment is switched out. But it's that kind of innovation that really sums up what ALEC's all about. Not thinking about things the way we always thought about them. Not simply accepting that government's ineffective and it can't work for us. It can. They can do so in a very frugal manner, being good stewards of your tax dollars. But we want to make sure that happens. And as we educate legislators and as they get to exchange ideas, it's just really exciting to be with a group of your peers and to have those conversations. As you hear, like I say in the background, the buzz that's happening as people start to walk into the convention hall where we'll have lunch and we'll hear from Governor DeSantis shortly. It's literally a parade of legislators from all across the United States who are so excited to be at ALEC. We appreciate you being here on the broadcast with us today, listening in and watching and seeing what ALEC is all about. And quite frankly, just another edition of All Things Saine. It is great to have you on the show, have you listening, and look forward to having some of my colleagues here in just a few minutes.
Take your favorite WSIC shows with you anytime by going to WSIC News wherever you get your podcasts.
Here is your WSIC.
You know, we've got 10 listeners. It's actually broadcast Charlotte Market. Yeah. Just get on in here. Yes.
I think it's funny. It's twisted. It's opposite of them.
Even though this is grainy, it comes across it very well. Hey, and I'm told our mic is live, which is great. So to the 10 listeners. Not kidding.
That's some Neely stuff right there.
Very good. Well, we wouldn't say anything that would embarrass us too much. My mom's mostly proud of me most days. We'll keep it clean.
Our moms are listening.
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback though. Really.
No, I know it does.
Forecast. Sunny today with a high near 94. Mostly clear this evening with a low around 70. Thursday looks sunny and hot with a high near 95. Heat index values as high as 101 and a breeze at 8 miles per hour. Mostly clear for Thursday night with a low around 73. And Friday looks
So
sunny
it goes right up to
again with a
11:30?
high near 95. I'm Holly Dale from WSIC's
Go
Weather
to
Center.
commercials. I get Chester on. Okay.
Conversations that matter,
I gotta tell you, I'm afraid to even think about the next presidential election.
led by you.
It's a mockery of American politics.
This is WSIC News Talk Now. Go beyond the headlines. WSIC News Talk Now.
And good morning. You are listening to All Things Saine. We are here at ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council National Conference, here in sunny Orlando. Sunny outside. We're inside at the conference center. I've got joining me here in our makeshift studio, literally in the hallways of ALEC. We've got Representative Jake Johnson, who represents, you got Polk County. What are the counties? You got Henderson?
Polk, Henderson, Rutherford, and McDowell counties out in the western part of the state.
So Jake Johnson, you were serving with how many terms have you been in the legislature?
Representative Saine, I feel like I've been at this my whole life. I was a county commissioner in 2016, took over the legislature in 2019, and enjoyed it ever since.
Well, glad to have you on the show. Jake's a dear friend at the legislature. Came in, like you say, in 2016. Was, I think, at that time, maybe what the state's youngest county commissioner?
Youngest county commissioner. I think I'm still the youngest at the state. I think I'm still
Well,
the youngest in the legislature.
bringing a little youth to the table. I was young too when I first got to the legislature, but be careful. I got there and I was 6'3", weighed about 190 pounds, and it will weigh on you. I'm just saying.
That's all right. You still want the best looking ones up there. You're doing good.
Well, I dress well, I've been told. Glad to have you on the show. This is All Things Saine. We're here at ALEC. So what does ALEC mean to you? You are a veteran of ALEC meetings. What do you get out of ALEC? What's it all about?
Let me tell you, if you are bored at ALEC, you are doing something wrong, because there is something for everybody here. If you look at the list of panelists, the speakers we've got, and I'll actually be on a panel talking about AI tomorrow because I'm such an industry expert there. And we've got something for everybody. This afternoon, we're going to have a broadband panel. And what I learned here is North Carolina is actually breaking edge in a lot of these policy fields. North Carolina is really leading the pack, so it's really fun for us to get to come talk about the great things we're doing and maybe pick up some things from other states too.
Well, to your point, we are. You're going to be on that AI, artificial intelligence panel for those keeping score at home. That's a big deal, or it can be a big deal. How states adapt and learn from it. It could be a great tool, or it could be a real detriment. And I think policymakers have to get that right, and that's what you're going to be talking about.
Well, when they say states are truly the laboratories of democracy, this is ground zero for that. This is us coming together and saying, what have you done that worked? What have we done that worked? What have you done that maybe didn't work so well? You passed the law 5 years ago. It didn't go the way you thought. We're going to stay away from that. We're going to do things that did work. And it's always fun to come and brainstorm ideas with other legislators. And I tell you, this one has the feel like we're going to get some good stuff done. Because North Carolina, we're breaking edge, and we're still in session. That's the fun part. Everybody else is talking about what they've done. We can still pass laws. We're still in session working, so it's a good time of year for us.
Well, it is, and it's a nice break. Everything you do, it's every now and then good to step away for a little bit and kind of recharge. I get recharged when we come to these things as you learn from the other states, and as they've learned from you. To your point, we bring one of the largest delegations. We're very engaged and involved in ALEC, and they learn a lot that North Carolina's doing. How does that impact your district? Tell me about your district, because you're a more rural legislator. Your district is more rural. You're a graduate of UNC Charlotte, just like me, Go Niners. And Biff Pogge, by the way, our coach yesterday, put on a clinic at a press conference.
Absolutely.
It was great. So a little shout out to the coach. But your district, very rural. How do they benefit from you going to something like this?
Listen, this panel I'm about to go in this afternoon, we're talking about how we're going to disperse the next round of broadband money. When we're going out, people in my district either have slow internet they're not happy with, or sometimes have none at all. We're going to go in these rooms and brainstorm how we've done it in the past, how other states are doing it right now. We all know that we're getting likely billions of dollars more from the federal government to close this gap completely. We need to figure out the most cost-effective and efficient way to get internet to people, and that's what we're going to be talking about this afternoon.
Very cool.
That affects people, whether they're working from home, whether they got kids in school, whether it's telehealth for the older population. We're going to go in and talk about how the best way is to get them internet.
Well, to that point, your district, I know we did an event, I guess last year, and the backdrop was Chimney Rock. In my district, we think, well, that's a vacation spot. That's your district. Those are your people that live there. It's a great restaurant. You'd have to plug their name.
Burnt Shirt Vineyards, everybody. They're good people out there.
Yeah, and it was
great.
A great
job.
But the backdrop, you couldn't be more remote, in all seriousness. But those people that live in your district need connectivity, just like people in Raleigh and Charlotte and Greensboro and so forth. So this is very important to them. And finding better ways and better ideas of how to get it there, or helping other states develop that, is incredibly important.
That's right. And, we're going to take care of our people, but when we're talking to other states and they're, behind what we're doing, or they haven't adopted the same metrics for getting it out that we have, it's good to talk to them so we can help people across the country too, not just back home.
And that's really nonpartisan. That's not a partisan issue. It impacts Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated, everyone. So working on things like that, you find a lot of common ground. I think, look at what you've done. Jake, by the way, is our IT, Information Technology Appropriations Chairman. So he works a lot with the governor's staff and with the administration, whether it be Republican or Democrat. Right now it's Democrat. But you found ways to really push through and get things done despite the political differences.
We'll also be talking about during this conference cybersecurity. When we're talking about the health records, criminal justice records, things like that within departments, that shouldn't be partisan either. We're talking about preventing state-sponsored attacks against North Carolinians. We're talking to other states too about what they're doing to prevent these large-scale attacks on private information and securing our data at the state level. Those are all extremely important things that we're going to be talking about here at ALEC. So we're excited about that.
Well, and no, thank you. And I've had some listeners say we've had a few technical difficulties, but our portion's been great. So we got it right. We
got it right, and let me tell you, I think DeSantis is getting nervous when he saw us out here. He walked by, and I'm telling you, he's never closed for us before. So he's getting a little nervous. I just hope he's backstage.
I bet he is. Somebody
he's
gets
never
coffee,
closed
calm
for
his
me
nerve or
before,
something, right? So what's next for you? I mean, you're obviously a rising leader in the North Carolina House. You got some time to do things. You quickly become a part of the leadership team and as a committee chairperson. You're also one of our whips in our caucus, right?
We are. I mean, and despite what people may think, I can count all the way to 72. So that's a really good thing for us trying to get legislation passed. And that's where we're running for whip right now, to be the majority whip in the House. And we're excited because this is the first time since I've been here we've been able to override a veto. But to do that, you got to have butts and seats ready to vote when the time comes, and those margins get slim sometimes. So I think it's going to be a very important role for the next few months, especially. And as we get into next year, we got some critical legislation coming down the pipeline.
Well, we do, and it never stops. I mean, of course, with a state as large as ours, we grew up there, you and I both, and sometimes it's somewhat hard to imagine that we really are a leader out of 50 states. But when you look at the size of North Carolina, we're bigger than a lot of countries. And with that being said, the things that we do really do matter. So you have to be prepared. You have to be adaptable to the challenges that we have. And quite frankly, then there's the legislative side of that, right? Nobody does anything by themselves at the legislature. So you have to work with your colleagues. You have to build coalitions. You've been very successful in getting legislation passed, which means it's not always partisan. It is sometimes you have to count on the other side for votes too. And I think folks really appreciate your go at it attitude. You're not a negative person by any measure. You're not there to beat people up. You'll fight hard. You conducted some hearings that kind of made you famous earlier this year. Talk a little bit about that. Some of the things that you have an investigative committee. What's that about?
We do. This is the first time the House has ever had a standing oversight committee where we can call people in and ask questions. And when asked for a mission statement, said we're here to make government operate more efficient. And that's the best way we can put that. If there's inefficiencies with either departments spending money they shouldn't, or there's things going on where there's coercion behind the scenes going on, we want to put that in the spotlight, be transparent, and hopefully shine a little light on government, let people trust it a little bit more. So we had these hearings where we brought people in to testify that sometimes they want to be there, sometimes they don't. But we think people need to get to the bottom of what's going on behind the scenes in government.
That's fair, and then they can make up their own mind.
They can make up their own mind.
We are talking with Jake Johnson, Representative Jake Johnson, here on All Things Saine. Appreciate you listening and helping us work through any technical difficulties. So we don't know if they are happening because we're here in Florida, and everyone at home can watch it across the internet. So, but we do. We've got a lot of great friends that we see here at ALEC. See a good buddy of mine, Ren Williams, who's a delegate in Virginia. Hello, sir. Yeah, good to see you. He just won a big primary and pushed through that.
There you go.
So we're glad to see really all of our friends that are coming through. We got about 2 minutes before we get to the break, but if you could talk directly, and you can, that's a great part about the democracy that we operate in, the republic, if you will. What would you say to your constituents about the work that you're doing in general, just at the legislature?
We feel, and I say this, we've been working hard for 3 years now, but the issues that are important to our folks, a lot of them have stalled out in the past just due to sheer number of votes. We've got a governor that's vetoed more bills than any other governor in North Carolina history combined. But now that we're able to operate and actually go out and get things passed and overridden into law, I think we are making more progress than we have in the time I've been there. And that's not to say we've been working hard behind the scenes to get this legislation to a point where it's ready for prime time. And that's another thing I'd say is that people, they don't understand. They call it a part-time job, or that's how they advertise it. But really, North Carolina is one of the only states still in session. We're working hard, and we're doing it because we believe in the legislation we're running, and we know that it's going to make North Carolina better than we found it. So we're working hard. People see us on the floor and they see one speech and go, oh, that was easy. They got it done.
Right.
There are years leading up to that one moment. I mean, you've had some bills that I know didn't happen overnight. You got them across the finish.
It didn't happen over one session either.
Didn't happen overnight, but we got them pushed into law. So just know that when we get up and make that speech on the floor, that's the end of a very, very long journey.
Finally got there. Representative Jake Johnson, really appreciate you joining us on All Things Saine. I know our listenership appreciates getting a chance to meet some of the other legislators. This is All Things Saine, but it's not always about me. Really appreciate you being on and look forward to working with you.
We'll be back on soon, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Take care. Again, we'll be back right after the break. Appreciate you listening in to All Things Saine.
Local and North Carolina news now on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC. News Talk Now.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. Cornelius today reporting that if all goes well, Royal Bliss Brewery will be opening a new location in Cornelius by early 2025. Officials from Royal Bliss, which currently operates a brewery in Denver, unveiled their expansion plans at the town's July 24th pre-development committee meeting, and every member expressed support for the project. The project would include a full-service restaurant as well as a beer garden. And SECU Foundation recently announced its support for Domestic Violence Shelter Services Incorporated, providing $450,000 in funding to complete the nonprofit's capital campaign to open a newly built shelter in New Hanover County. DVSS is the only agency in the county that provides emergency shelter and support services to individuals impacted by domestic violence. Now, sports with Joe Berg.
Yesterday, Red Sox utility man Kiki Hernandez was traded back to the Dodgers. Also, Saquon Barkley and the Giants agreed to a one-year deal, keeping Barkley from sitting out for the season.
WSIC weather, clear and sunny today with a high of 94. Mainly clear tonight, low of 72. More sun tomorrow with a high of 94. Sunny Friday, the high 96. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
It's always great to have the right tools and supplies when working outside. Little Shavers Woodshop is ready to help. Little Shavers has all your wood, treated lumber, wood fencing, and all the treatment items to keep them looking great. PVG paints and stains, and add in some pine needles and Daddy Pete's mulch and soils, and your landscaping will be the best around. Head on over to Little Shavers, 3301 Salisbury Highway, right in between Statesville, Morrisville, and Moxville. Visit littleshaverswoodshop.com. That's LILshaverswoodshop.com.
And we're back on All Things Saine. We're here in sunny Orlando, broadcasting live from the American Legislative Exchange Council annual conference. If you see behind me, that's our old State House, our Capitol building, the old one. We stole that from the lobby. They like to put those out there, so we just grabbed it and borrowed it for a little bit. But with me today on the show, we just had Representative Jake Johnson. Now, a noob here in Raleigh, Representative Alan Chesser, who is I don't even feel like calling you a freshman anymore because you've done so much in your short time at the legislature. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate your work ethic and getting to know you. And we want our listeners to get to know you today. So, Alan Chesser, you represent, you know what, you tell them what counties you represent. I know it's Nash. And
thanks for having me here, Jason. So it's just Nash County for me. It's almost the entirety of the county. Nash County is comprised of 25 precincts. I have 24 of them. Ken came in and stole one from me, but that's all right. We'll get it back later.
Well, so you and I are very similar in that regard. I only have Lincoln County, which is a blessing in a lot of ways because you're not torn between multiple counties.
Right.
Though redistricting will be what redistricting is, but hopefully you're fortunate to get to keep that one county. So we're here at the American Legislative Exchange Council, and glad to have you on the show. Tell me about your district. Your district's gone through some stuff here just recently.
Yeah. So last week, most people probably heard that we had a tornado rip through our district. Very little warning on that. Some pretty heavy devastation, and fortunately, no loss of life. A few. I hate to use the word minor injuries, but nothing's minor when you're caught in a tornado.
To you, yeah.
But we're blessed and fortunate that no one died.
Well, that is a blessing. So when you run for office, I don't think most legislators or most candidates are thinking about, I guess part of the job is helping my district respond to emergencies.
It never popped up on my radar when I was.
We don't train for that.
Candidate. I wasn't thinking about a tornado or hurricane or anything at all. Although that was one of the things that I remember about my district was growing up in that area. We've had floods, we've had hurricanes in the past, and this was similar to that with watching the community come together and just start checking on their neighbors and showing love to one another and building each other up. One of the reasons that we can choose to live anywhere we want, and we chose to live right there in Nash County.
Sure. No, and prayers really, and thoughts and prayers for the people in your district as they continue to work through it. You don't get over these things overnight. It's not a one and done. The event happens, but then the cleanup and quite frankly just the mental cleanup but you've had some experience in that too. You're a combat veteran. Tell me how you got started in life. What got you to the military, and tell us more about that.
So it was a combination of a few things. One was my exemplary academic performance in high school. Left me in a position where I didn't get too many scholarship offers, and there wasn't a lot of options left for me after high school. And then the other was September 11th. I vividly remember walking into shop class and my shop teacher telling us to sit down, shut up, and pay attention, that what was happening on the TV was going to change our lives. And he was right. I think there were 6 of us in that room that ended up joining the military.
Wow.
And 3 of us deployed together.
And you were deployed. How many times were you deployed?
So 1 deployment for 11 months.
11 months.
Yeah.
Many missions.
Yeah. Over 100 combat missions.
Well, you've from that experience, you've been working on a somewhat controversial issue at the legislature. Certainly different opinions on it, but medical marijuana. And one of the things that, as you kind of gave really a testimony, you weren't just speaking to us in caucus, really a testimony about some of the people that you've served with and how medical marijuana might be a treatment for PTSD. And there's no right or wrong on these things. That people have their feelings, and they have to vote their conscience and vote how they believe their constituency would want them to vote. But you've had some real life experience with not you personally as far as the PTSD, but with a lot of the people that you served with.
Yeah. So I've got no problem admitting it here. I've admitted it in speeches in the past. I speak from experience. I'm clinically diagnosed with PTSD. Those 100 missions that I told you about, they don't come without their baggage.
Right.
But definitely within my unit and within those that I've served with over the years, I've seen both sides of this coin. I've got brothers that have ultimately taken their own life, and I've got brothers who have survived. And so I got my own lived case study, if you will, where I'm looking at what my counterparts that ended up choosing to end their life, what they were giving into is most of the time alcohol and heavier drugs. Didn't work out well for them, where a lot of my survivors are currently self-medicating with cannabis and having mixed results, but overwhelmingly positive results.
Right. Well, you certainly speak from experience and from what you know of people that you've been around and served with, and I think that people don't think about how the legislature operates, but it's really a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life that kind of get thrown together. I always say it's kind of like The Real World. If you remember that show from MTV, where you just kind of drop people from various backgrounds, various points of view, and try to make it work and find ways to make it work, and we do. Sometimes it takes a little longer than others, but these issues are very important. They're very important to the people in the district, very important to people's lives, and we know that. And again, with many different points of view, and trying to thread the needle and get something that a majority of people at the legislature can vote for sometimes can be difficult. These issues sometimes take years, not months. You watch the ABC special when you're growing up. I'm Just a Bill. It seems pretty simple. They can do it in about a minute and a half of with a jingle, but legislation doesn't really work that way, and sometimes that frustrates people. But that's the way the founders intended it. But you're an active family guy too, so you do all this. And you've got, if I remember, 5 children,
yes,
correct? And a wife that puts up with your political habit that supports you,
yes,
of course. But and you brought them down here to Orlando with you.
I did. Once we saw, so this is my second ALEC as a freshman. So originally, when I was scheduled for freshman orientation at the state legislature, this little Jedi called me and said, "Hey, I think you're going to be just fine. Let's get a head start on the legislating thing. You should go to ALEC in DC." And so I did, and I think it worked out pretty well. I haven't really struggled with finding my feet in the GA. I've got good mentors. I appreciate you for taking me under your wing. And I found some successes, and I've had a few failures along the way, but you get up, you learn, you grow, and you move on. So this is the second ALEC, and when we found out it was going to be located where it is, and the amenities that are here, we just decided just to bring the whole family down, load up. So yeah, yesterday was a long day because we left at midnight, drove straight through about 10 and a half hours with the family, and so I was asleep by about 7:30 last night. And it was good sleep.
I bet it was. That drive will take a lot out of you. I broke mine up. I did a little stop in Beaufort, South Carolina. A buddy of mine, one of my constituents, but a good friend, has a house, a boat down there, and we did a little cruising around the coast for a little bit, and then I came on down to Florida, so got to break it up a little bit. We do it straight on. It's tough. We did that for our spring vacation, and I had it. We made it through, but it does kind of wear the bottom of your seat out a little bit. But you're refreshed, recharged, ready to hit the day here at ALEC. We've got Governor DeSantis speaking to us just shortly. We've seen a parade of people walking into the lunch. Pretty exciting to see a national figure like Governor DeSantis speak to us. We'll have others, Sarah Huckabee, others. We're talking with Representative Alan Chester from Nash County. He's a freshman at the legislature, but as I said earlier, I don't believe anything about him as a freshman anymore. He's learned a lot in a short time at the legislature. You were also a Raleigh city policeman too in your career.
Yeah, I did a little bit, right around 3 years in the city of Raleigh, working in Southeast Raleigh. So that was, everything you do, all your experiences just inform how you legislate as a legislator. It's like with the tornadoes coming through, I wasn't exactly sure how to serve my community as an elected official, because I'm so used to being a first responder, getting in there with my hands checking on people. So I just defaulted to that. Jumped in the truck with the sheriff, and we just started going out and checking on the citizens, pulling up in driveways, getting cut teams assigned to driveways and different roads in different communities. And so, just making sure that our people understand that while the news and the media may have left and forgotten about them, we haven't. We're still there. We're still working for the people of Nash County, and that's our commitment, and we're going to keep doing it.
Well, that's important to really realize, because you're right. Media cycles come and go.
Yeah.
It's not a criticism. They've got readership, and they've got viewership and things of that nature. Everything is changing, and when they cover a wide area, they're there for a bit and then they're gone. But really, that cleanup and that aftermath continue long after the cameras are gone.
Yes. Yeah. So the glory of the storm, for lack of a better term, the glamorous nature of the story, the rebuild's just not as glamorous. It's slow, it's drawn out, it's meticulous, but it's important. These are people's lives. One of the stops that we had, there's a picture of me, waving my hand in front of the governor out of one of the sites. So what I was telling him was, at one of the homes that we found, the home was destroyed, but in the yard, I found a pay stub from 1992.
Oh, wow.
And that just puts in perspective, for me anyway, these are people's lives that were just instantly uprooted. That's 30 years of someone's life.
Yes.
That was just represented in that pay stub in that house.
I was getting pay stubs from Harris Teeter at that point.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you where I was. I was like 3 years old.
Uh-huh.
7 actually. But yeah, you can't rebuild it overnight. It can be destroyed overnight, but it won't be rebuilt overnight. And so that's just not the glamorous story that the news crews want to hang out for.
It's not quite as we say sexy for cameras, but it's important what happens afterwards. Real quick, we've got about a minute before we go to hard break. But what do you want to do next in the legislature? You've hit the ground running, and I don't see you stopping anytime soon. So what's next? What are you looking to do?
I have no idea what's next. Just seeing what doors God opens for me, what opportunities He has, and being ready and prepared to jump through them when they present themselves.
Well, I know your constituents appreciate it. We appreciate you, the legislature, because you are a hard worker. You're very intentional. You do the research, you do the studies. It's great to see someone who just embraces it and takes it on. So Representative Alan Chester from Nash County, really appreciate you being on the show. All things sane. Get in there, hear from Governor DeSantis. Are you going to be the one that starts to wave as he speaks? Because that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm pretty tall, so I'll get on the edge and stand up and see what everybody else does.
Great. Alan Chester, thanks for being on All Things Sane. We'll be back in just a moment. Really appreciate you listening to us from Orlando.
Something for everyone. WSIC. News, talk, now.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Ever wonder what Mooresville was like in 1873? The historic Downtown Walking Tour is a self-guided tour that will take you on a stroll through Mooresville's past to learn about the history of the town. Featuring 18 stops, the tour begins and ends at the corner of Main Street and Center Avenue. It should take 1 hour to complete. For more info, visit downtownmooresville.com. Are you a movie lover? Statesville's Parks and Rec Department will be having their Movies in the Park series on Friday, July 28th. They will be playing Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Seating opens at 8 o'clock and the movie will begin at 8:45. Refreshments will be available. Everything is $1. Bring your blanket and lawn chairs and enjoy a movie in the park. For more info, visit statesvillenc.com. Do you enjoy making pottery? Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius has Ceramics Open Studio. Select Tuesdays and Saturdays, you can become the clay artist you were always meant to be. You must register in person. For the full schedule, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Grab your safety goggles for some mad science involving deadly cobras, irate Irishmen, and the occasional airship. Davidson community players will be presenting the Explorers Club on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays through July. For more information on show times and to buy your tickets, visit davidsоncommunityplayers.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
So we don't forget, but we've got about a little less than a minute.
I'm going out to the Wyoming game.
I'm Holly Vale with your WSIC
Wyoming?
forecast.
Oh, so you're going out to it?
Sunny today,
I'm
with
going
a
out there, so that's gonna be
94. Mostly
Well,
clear this
so
evening with
I'm going to
low
have
around
Coach
70.
Pogge
Thursday looks
show
sunny and
too,
hot with a high near
football.
95. Heat index values as high as 101 and a breeze at 8 miles per hour. Mostly clear for Thursday night with a low around 73. And Friday looks sunny and hot again with a high near 95. I'm Holly Vale from WSIC's Weather
Not a bad
Center.
little setup. Say again?
It needs a few more seats. in Charlotte.
Lake Norman just got a new talk show. Join me, Todd Starnes, live every weekday at 12 noon. And join the discussion here on News Talk WSIC.
Enjoy that morning coffee with Justin Kazepis and Good Morning LKN. Weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on WSIC. News, talk, now.
All right, welcome back to All Things Sane for our final segment. Here at ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. We're in sunny Orlando, Florida. I haven't been to see the Big Mouse. It's a little hot for that. And quite frankly, I've got too packed of a schedule to get to do that, but that's okay. We're here recharging and refueling as legislators. With me on the show now, got a good friend of mine, Representative Ray Pickett. He is from up 321. So if you're from my district, Lincoln County, he's just up discreet, as we say, off 321. Represents Watauga and Ashe counties,
and Allegheny County.
And Allegheny County. So you don't want to leave anybody out. So you've got a pretty big district as far as mileage and the crow flies. But you've got a district that you're now in. Is this your third term?
It's my second.
Second term. You know, it all bleeds together, so it feels like you've been there a lot longer, and I think I've been there a lot longer. But Ray Pickett, Representative Ray Pickett, represents those mountain counties there, and you do a lot. The legislature, you keep pace with me, which is hard to do. You stay on the go. You've got you do a lot with our university system, with our 4-year institutions. I know that's part of your role, and then also as an ABC chairman, which you look at it, it's alcohol beverage control. You do a lot with that, but you've got a wide range of interests at the legislature. What all do you cover?
Well, I try to cover what's going to help my district, and universities is going to have a university in my district, so that's very important to me to make sure our universities are the best they can be. but also to make sure that they follow along with the Board of Governors like they're supposed to. And recently with the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action, we're having to watch closely to make sure that they do follow what the Supreme Court says. We don't want to end up in lawsuits and things that we have to spend state money on and fight. So make sure the chancellors are well informed and on board with what they need to follow on that.
Right. Well, that's important, following the law.
Yeah, that is.
Turns out you do have to do that.
That's right.
Despite what your wishes might be otherwise.
That's right.
Nobody's special. It is what has to happen. But we have an incredible university system that other states want to emulate, that look to our state to get it right. So getting it right means that you really have to have a watchful eye all the time, because there's a lot of competing interests.
Yes, there are.
It's Appalachian State is in your district. I'm a UNC Charlotte guy, of course, not in my district, but close by. But we've got, these are two pretty big schools.
Yes.
Some of the biggest in the system, but we've got some smaller schools too that they're just as equally as important and play a great role. And you have to kind of balance that as well.
Yes, we have different size universities because every student is not going to fit in a big university. So we need to have the choices for our students in our state, and we need to do the best thing for our students from North Carolina. They are first and foremost. The most important thing to me is our students in our state, because this is a state-supported school system, and it is a great system. It's one of the best in the country, and it's also one of the most affordable in the country. And we have worked hard to keep it that way. We have held tuition down for 7 years now to help students be able to afford college, and we're coming up with some innovative ways to try to help kids afford to go to college.
It's incredibly important. I think about me and my younger sister, what that meant for our family. My mother and father had gone to the community colleges and gotten their degrees, but 4-year colleges seemed a little out of reach for them at the time. But it was something that they wanted to accomplish for their kids and really push my sister and I to go to the 4-year institution. I started at NC State, got a better fit at UNC Charlotte just because of what I was studying and what I wanted to do. Love both campuses, love them greatly. So Wolfpack fan, certainly a 49er fan, but just as big as a fan as I am of the sports programs. Also a huge fan of what it means for opportunity for kids in our state. And quite frankly, to your point, regardless of income levels of households, race, demographics, all of it, getting everybody a chance. We've really got a lot to offer in the university system. I've gotten to more on campus at UNC Greensboro of late. I got to know Chancellor Gillum there, impressed with what they're doing there. One of the most diverse populations. Or you go over to UNC Pembroke. Robin Cummings, the chancellor there, is doing a tremendous job in an area of our state that needs an economic driver and an economic engine in southeastern North Carolina. And the university is a big part of that. And that's great to see lives change and opportunities change for people in our state, which is really what it's all about.
It is. And the way we see some of those smaller universities in these smaller communities, how they really hold up the community. They are sort of the center of the community, and UNC Pembroke is a perfect example of that. And Chancellor Cummings has done a wonderful job down there. They are growing. They have new buildings being built. They have school of business that's really doing some good things. And it's important that we make sure as a General Assembly that we look after our universities and we keep them running as efficiently as possible. And we do. Our General Assembly does a great job with our universities. We spend a lot of money on our university systems where other states don't. And that's how we keep the tuition down.
And we're getting the results.
Yes.
I want to say this, that got a text from Justin, who owns WSIC, and which we're broadcasting on now. So we're in the Lake Norman area. And he's also one of those happy appies, right? And he said, go out. So shout out to you and to the school. And we were just talking football during the break. Big game coming up early in the season in Appalachian. That's going to be, I think ECU is going to be in town.
Yes, they are. They're coming to Boone, and we're expecting 40,000 plus in Boone. It will be a great game. It is a sort of building as a rivalry now, East and West. We played a great game down in Charlotte, and we're hoping for a similar game here. It should be televised on ESPN, so we're looking forward to that.
Oh, that'd be fun. The game at Panther Stadium was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
And I've got friends at both universities, right? My rule is wherever I'm visiting, because as legislators, we get asked to come see what's happening on campus, and we usually turn it into go up on a Friday and stay for the game on Saturday and tour the campus and look at some of the things that they're doing wherever we go. I was at Western last year, took my family, been up to App a good bit. It's convenient. So that and Charlotte are easy to get to. And we also do the family thing where, we're fans too. So it's not always about business. So we try to take in some of the games, but that one was an interesting one because whenever you got rivalries like that, you got friends in both camps. Of course, I wore my black and gold because I grew up going to Appalachian games and going up to Boone, but that's not to knock on ECU. And we're going to a game. I've got to wear my green. I'm a UNC Charlotte graduate. I think the chancellor might bar me from campus if I go to Greenville and don't wear my green and white as I go up there. But they've got a game later on the season too. Charlotte at ECU, so we're looking forward to that. That'll be a fun one to go.
That will be. I plan on joining you there as well, and I'm conflicted too because I do represent the universities as a whole. My sister went to East Carolina. I have some deep Eastern North Carolina roots, so
right.
I might just have to wear gold that day.
Hey, why not? Help everybody.
That's right.
Well, we're talking with Representative Ray Pickett. Ray and I have been serving the legislature. I swear it feels longer. You form friendships and start to work together, and you have been a dear friend and a real help to me on a lot of things, and it's greatly appreciated. Glad to have you on the show today and give people a chance to get to know you. So you didn't just come to the legislature, you served at the local level before you went to the legislature. What'd you do there?
I served at the Blowing Rock Town Council, and that is serving locally sometimes is tougher than serving at the state level because people see you everywhere you go.
Right.
So you really have to, locally you are in touch with everybody. We do have to go to Raleigh because that's where the seat of government is. And folks from my district is 3.5 hours for them to get there. So it's not something they can just up and do real quick. And we are there a lot. People do try to catch me, try to get meetings, but serving locally is tough. Yeah. It really is because there's so many little issues you're trying to fix. And my wife currently serves on Blowing Rock Town Council.
Yeah.
So now she sort of sees how it is. And they've had a few situations that, trying to play and do what you think is best for the community, but yet you're split 50-50 in your community of what they want. And it's sometimes some tough decisions have to be made there. So local's tough. Local is tough.
My mother was a county commissioner in Lincoln County for 2 terms. So I got to watch that, see that through her eyes. Nothing but respect for our municipal and county officials because it is school board, same thing. They can't go to the grocery store without running into someone and saying, "Hey, I got a question," and that's why they serve. They don't mind it, but when you just want to run in and get a carton of eggs or something, it gets a little difficult to run in and out because you do want to take the time and be intentional with your constituents. Sure and it's like zoning hearings. I always said that 50% of the people leave from a zoning hearing mad at you, right? 50% are happy, 50% are upset with you. So that's always a challenge too. But you make it work, and you're doing it. It's a family affair for you guys, which is kind of cool to be a part of too. Means you've got to work together, but every now and then there could be a difference. You must be able to work that out.
That's happened already.
But hey, this is the challenges that are before us. But yeah, you're serving at the legislature. I think you are probably one of the most thoughtful members. And if we talk to any of our colleagues, you don't come in like a bull in a china shop. You try to get to consensus. Doesn't mean you don't get excited about what you're working on. Very passionate about it, but I think you do it in such a thoughtful way, and really it's about people at the end of the day. And if you can't coalesce those people to get them to support your stuff, it doesn't happen. Yes. So you do a great job with that.
Well, thank you.
We're talking with Representative Ray Pickett here on All Things Saine. We have been broadcasting live from Orlando. We're at the American Legislative Exchange Council National Conference. Really appreciate you joining in today. Real quick, any last thing you'd like to say to the audience or to people in your district? Anything you want to give a shout out to?
Well, I tell you what, all of those people that live off the mountain, it's nice and cool in the mountains. Come up and see us.
That's pretty hot down at home. So you can't cool off in the lake. We were just there last week, and it's about like getting into bathwater. It's gotten to that point in the summer. So mountains might be a good retreat.
It would be very nice, and we'd welcome you with open arms.
Well, and you'd love for us to come up there and spend money too, right?
That's right.
Well, you've been listening to All Things Saine from Orlando, Florida at the ALEC National Convention. Really appreciate you watching, tuning in. We'll be back next week. I will have a guest host for me. We'll be traveling with family. My good friend David Coe will be here. Take care. Thanks for listening.
100.7 WSIC, Statesville, Mooresville.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your help.